Are you glad to be able to smile again on the series?
Yeah. Ben and I were actually just talking about that in the hallway. It's been, a lot more fun. I've talked about it some in interviews, and I don't want to make it sound like last year wasn't fun, but when it gets that serious all the time, it weighs on you. So it's been a good time this year, getting back to kind of the feel of season 1 and joking around and having a good time.
Tomorrow night's episode is hilarious. I always love getting to see drunk Barry because it's such a rarity.
It's rare, yeah.
So talk a little bit about getting to explore that side of it again.
It was fun. It was if we're gonna get drunk, let's just be plastered drunk, wasted. So we went as far as we could. I went as far as I could with it, the comedy of it, and just. It was definitely a different side of Barry, and I feel like we haven't ever seen him like that. So. That was an interesting day for sure. In a bar, in a real strip club.
Is it fun to kind of bounce off of Dibney a little bit because it's a different dynamic?
Yeah, Hartley and I started to hit it off right away. Honestly, I'm sure everyone's kind of made this comparison or heard someone make it, but he's like a young Jim Carrey. We started to say it on set, right away. Just all the physical comedy stuff he can do and. He's a really seasoned, talented actor, so it's fun to have him on set for sure.
How has that changed the dynamic of the team, having him there and with Barry?
Yeah, well, it's kind of a slow start again as far as him being a part of the team, because Barry and him have the whole butting heads things at first. But Barry does a pretty quick turnaround. I think we're seeing him mature a lot more this year. And over the course of the last 2 years, for sure. So I think he does a pretty quick turnaround with Dibney and tries to kind of see things in a different way and see things his way. And kind of brings him in. Yeah, we see him start to train him. And it's fun because we're obviously I'm missing Julian this year, Tom Felton. And he's not a replacement, but it's nice to have, someone to just kind of fill that void and to have another guy around that we can do. He's again, a really talented, funny actor, so he's just fun to work with.
And Wally's gone too.
Yeah, and that's a recent development. It kind of fills a needed position.
We talked to Melissa and Kyler today a little bit about the crossover. Can you talk about what your experience this year was like doing the crossover?
It was bigger than ever. I think we knew it was going to be bigger than ever too, but every year it's you can't really prepare yourself. You think you're preparing yourself knowing okay, the crossovers are coming, but it's a big thing. It's a really challenging feat. But I think this year every year we kind of top it, and I think again we kind of top it. There's more people than ever included, and some of the biggest sequences you'll see with the most superheroes we've ever seen together at any given time. But we kind of stick also, at least the Flash side of things, we stick with kind of the comedy we've had all year, and that still exists within the crossover. And Barry and Kara have a few interactions that are kind of fun, classic Barry Kara interactions, and I meet a couple new characters, and it's just bigger than ever before.
What can you tell us about Barry and Iris's wedding?
It's a comic book wedding, so it's classic, it's beautiful, but obviously things aren't going to be perfect. Something's going to happen. But it's classical. It's a classic, beautiful wedding. It's cool.
What's it like knowing that the biggest crossover yet is revolving around your character?
I didn't really think about it that way, I guess, but it's we've been leading up to this wedding for a long time, and I think it's in some ways fitting that it's part of the crossover, because it's also a little strange that it's we've been leading up to this wedding and it's not even on Flash. It's technically on a different show. So I'm interested to see how some viewers feel about that, but it's also it's how this show started on Arrow, and we've consistently had these crossovers, and we bring so many characters together for this wedding. It's kind of fitting that it happens somewhere else. But it's on this set too that they told me how much they spent to build it, but I'm not going to repeat that number. But it was in a warehouse sound stage. It wasn't a real sound stage. It was in this warehouse that they built a church, and it was insane. You thought you were in a real church, and it was beautiful. I'm excited for everyone to see it.
So DeVoe has been brought to Barry's attention, and what can you tell us about the sort of the discovery and how they learn, how important he is to Barry's?
Yeah, Barry starts to get kind of an inkling that pretty early that this is going to be somebody serious, and we're going to want to nip it in the bud right away, just because of when we heard about this guy, thinking back, and who we heard about him from. Kadabra mentioned DeVoe to Barry, and then Savitar, evil Barry, actually mentioned him to Barry and Iris. So Barry doesn't want to. Barry's taking it pretty seriously right away, and he starts to kind of before anybody else on the team know for sure that this is our guy, and starts to become a little bit obsessed with getting him because he doesn't want things to get out of hand again, as they always do. So we start to see him become kind of like unravel slightly for the first time all season, because he's been pretty put together this year, positive, and he starts to become a little obsessed with finding this guy and getting everyone to be on the same page as him and see that this is our guy for sure, but everyone else kind of has their doubts for a while.
Caitlin's kind of been keeping her Killer Frost side secret. Can you preview a little bit about how that affects the team?
I mean, it's not really directly affecting the team too much at this point. Killer Frost, we see start to help us at times when Caitlin is kind of starting to find ways to control it. So it's more of Caitlin's struggle really than it is the team's struggle. And because she's finding ways to still help, whether she's Caitlin or Killer Frost.
Every season-long past villain that we've seen so far has had this really personal connection to Barry.
Mm-hmm.
So what can you tease about like how the Thinker is going to compare to that?
I think with the Thinker, it's more of less about Barry and more about his vision of Central City, and how he thinks he can make it better and make the world better. So I think he doesn't really become obsessed with Barry and the team until they're as in the way as they start to become. Although he also has like a bigger picture in mind that the team's unaware of. So like I don't even know necessarily where they're going with DeVoe. I mean, because he's obviously our big bad of the year, and there's things I don't necessarily know of, what he knows about the team. But he's more all-knowing than any big bad we've had before. And I think every time we think we're ahead of him, we realize he's still 3 steps ahead. So Grant, have no idea what is going to happen. And so Barry has no idea what's going to happen whatsoever.
Are there more of these metas that DeVoe is interested in that the team is going to be dealing with?
Yeah,
Any
so
you can tease?
Everyone that was on that bus is now what we start to refer to as the bus metas. And, as we do on Flash. I think Barry actually points that out at some point. He doesn't necessarily love the idea that we're just like, the bus metas. Very nonchalantly. But we have the bus metas, and DeVoe created all of them, and they all have to do with his plan. None of this was an accident. So, and we don't realize that at first, but we start to see everything's connected, and we don't know why he needs all these people and why he did this to them.
Are any of them? Sorry, do any of them become some of the classic characters we know? We know like Ralph became Elongated Man. So are any of the other ones going to become characters that we know and love?
I honestly don't know. I'm not sure. I would imagine at least one more of them would be probably, but I honestly don't know.
In the premiere, Barry, forgets this beautiful mind phase, as they call it, that he goes into. Is that going to come back, or has it come back already in the episodes you've worked on?
It will. Elements, he was kind of talking all over the place, and elements of that will kind of show up throughout the season, and may already have, and we'll kind of circle back, I would imagine, at some point towards the end of the season and connect all of them for you. But yeah, that was all very important, kind of everything he was saying at the beginning of the year.
You two have had your kind of dueling suspect boards, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
you and the Thinker.
We love our boards on the
Yeah.
Flash. We love boards so much. Clear boards, white boards.
Is it kind of a game changer that tomorrow night the Thinker gets his hands on one of these people?
Say that again?
That in the next episode the Thinker gets his hands on one of these metas?
Yeah, it's that's again kind of what I touched on earlier. White and Barry started to become obsessed with this is our guy. Well, he realizes it's going to get dirty quick, and before it gets dirty, he kind of wants to get ahead of this guy. And then they start to realize kind of what a challenging foe he's going to be, and different than any of these other speedsters that we've faced in the past. You know, he's not a speedster, and he's something we've never seen before. So things are going to kind of take a dark turn quickly, kind of in the middle of the year.
How does Barry's obsession with finding out more about DeVoe impact his relationship with the other members of Team Flash?
Again, Barry is trying his best to mature, and I think a lot of it's happening naturally. So we'll see them kind of start to butt heads because he's Barry and he's hot-headed, and when he's sure he's right, he's stubborn. But the team is in a good place this year, so we're not going to see any massive hiccups, I don't think, with the team at this point in the season. They'll recover.
Wentworth Miller tweeted that he's filming his last episodes as Captain Cold.
Yeah.
What are you going to miss about that dynamic between Flash and that character?
Well, first of all, I hope he comes back, because I remember that it was like, oh, they killed off Wentworth a while back, because he was on Legends, and I remember hearing, oh, they killed off Wentworth, and then he was back, and I worked with him again a couple times, so I'll just keep my fingers crossed that I get to work with him again, because that's been a really cool thing to have on the show since season 1 of The Flash. He's been a cool actor to have on set for me and just kind of talk to. Just his, he's been around with Prison Break and all kinds of other things. He's just been a good guy to have on set and talk to. But it's also, I think, the fans love those two characters together, and we always talk about it when we act together. We're like, man, I love these scenes. They're kind of different than anything else that the two of us do on our show.
Why do you think the fans like those scenes, though?
I don't know. I mean, there's all kinds of dynamics there. They're started as enemies, and they came to respect each other, and I think they came to care about each other even. But there's trust issues there probably on both sides. So it's just there's a lot going on. There's probably more going on with that relationship than almost any other Barry relationship.
There's an episode coming up with multiple Harrison Wells. Can you talk about what it was like to work with Tom Cavanaugh in several different roles?
It's always fun to work with Tom Cavanaugh and whatever. I didn't get to work with him in what this is, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
But I heard about it, and just the crew was blown away, and he always impresses. He's a legend.
Talking earlier about Barry learning some lessons, maybe it seems like he's not using time travel to solve all of his problems or try to solve his problems now, and that this season with the Thinker is getting more back. It's just sort of like detective work.
Yeah.
Sort of back. So has that been sort of exploring a different side?
That's I think pretty on point. This also with bringing Hartley, Ralph Dibny on the show. They have kind of their detective background with each other, and that's kind of the selling point with Ralph when he wants to get him to work with Team Flash. He's like, I want to teach you how to be a detective again, a good detective, and there's been a lot more of that for Barry, and not really we don't see him too much as a CSI. It's just been a little bit less this year of the guys, what do I do, and more of the problem solving on his own. We'll still see some of the guys, what do I do? I'm not fast enough. But he's been trying to solve more problems on his own, and a lot of that's detective work. And Ralph and Barry have been doing that together a lot, which has been cool. And the DeVoe storyline calls for it because we're just solving a problem kind of from the beginning of the season on.
What are you getting to do this season as Barry that you've never gotten to do before?
I feel like I'm always doing, all the time, I'm doing some new thing as Barry or the Flash that I've never done before. Actually, this is probably not what you thought I would say at all, but I think this upcoming episode was the first episode ever of The Flash that I did not wear the Flash suit. I think it's this episode, and I think it was that's technically a thing that happens this year that had never happened before, so that.
We have time for 2 more questions.
How does the pregnancy affect your relationship with Joe? Because he seems really kind of hesitant about that whole situation.
How does the what affect our relationship? Sorry.
The pregnancy.
The pregnancy. Oh, it doesn't, Barry is thrilled, so, it doesn't really, I think, it's more, again, kind of Joe's thing. And we'll probably see more as the season progresses, how it'll affect. I think right now it's so early that we haven't really seen it have too many effects yet. But Barry's thrilled, so shouldn't have too many negative effects, I don't think.
Obviously, the future looks bright for Iris and Barry with the wedding coming up. Are there any challenges ahead for them, or are they just settling into like the honeymoon phase?
Please say
No.
more group therapy.
Yeah, I hope more group therapy. That was really fun. But first of all, if you've planned a wedding, I'm planning a wedding in real life right now. It's not really the honeymoon phase. It's kind of stressful.
After the
It's
wedding.
kind of,
After
yeah,
the
so no, I
wedding.
think we'll see kind of hiccups along the way right now. As they plan the wedding, because it's all about to work out, but it's a stressful time. It's like, is the wedding gonna happen? Like, I'm still running around being the Flash and gotta do Flash things and not really helping plan the wedding probably at all. It's like, I'm not really helping at all in real life. So
Life imitates art.
exactly, yeah. Flash has done that for me for 4 years now. Actually, it's crazy. It's like I'm like, it's bizarre. Anyway, off topic. Yeah. It's, we're leading up to the wedding and everything's great, but there's still a little, like the couples therapy, little hiccups along the way that make it fun and entertaining.